welcome to the grand finale of the CSL 1 Championship. My name is Dayte3 and thank you for tuning in on twitch.tv/CSL1. Today we're going to have griml0ck up against Dayte3. Are you ready? We now go over to the live game. It's finally here, guys. Let's get ready for an intense game. So it's Dayte3 up against griml0ck. Looks like that Dayte3 is about to use the first pawn, and griml0ck's immediately about to just respond with that knight going there. And then it looks like the two pawns are coming out to play from Dayte3 and griml0ck. Looks like we've got some high intense gameplay. Looks like another pawn's going to come out. Going to try and block up that. Going to try and negate the damage. griml0ck is pulling out all of the cards today. Dayte3 is not going to be... Oh, and the bishop going towards the knight about to attack, but then the pawn coming out. Looks like that Dayte3 is actually about to just reconsider their position. It looks like that Dayte3 is thinking about taking back. Oh, and the take back from Dayte3. Looks like that griml0ck is about to advance, and it looks like he's trapped that bishop right there. Looks like that griml0ck's next move is going to be taking out that bishop for a pawn. Now that is a trade that griml0ck can take, and obviously Dayte3 is reconsidering their position. They look like they're actually about to weigh out their options right now, and looks like that Dayte3 is just thinking about what to do next. Looks like that griml0ck is actually pushing and intimidating Dayte3 into this. Oh, and he's reconsidering, and he wants to take the queen out behind the bishop to reinforce that, but it looks like griml0ck is about to push the pawn, and he's going to push that front line, and he wants to take Dayte3 down. Looks like that griml0ck is still putting on the pressure. Dayte3 is still struggling whether or not where to go. It looks like that Dayte3 brings up the knight, and the pawn takes it. A pawn for a knight. So it looks like the bishop is coming out from griml0ck, and Dayte3 again reconsidering that. Looking to get the rook out into play. Looks like that Dayte3 is actually just about to move one square, and it looks like the knight is coming into play from griml0ck. They're pushing that front line, and it looks like the griml0ck is actually putting on that pressure, and it looks like that Dayte3 is going to take out that knight, and it looks like the bishop's taken out the queen, everyone. The bishop has taken out the queen. griml0ck is already at a high advantage on this game, and griml0ck is still not giving up. Looks like the rook is coming out to play, and the king gets moved. Looks like the king moved. Oh, is that the queen? That's the queen. The queen has moved, and it looks like more pawns are being pushed up, and the rook wants to take out and take down that front line defense, but looks like the pressure is still ganging up. Looks like the other knight is about to come into play now. griml0ck really pressuring Dayte3 now. Dayte3 looks like he's actually about to try and get his way out of this situation, but it looks like Dayte3, I don't think, will be able to do this. Now griml0ck still pushing on the front line pressure, and it looks like that griml0ck actually retreats the bishop, tactically retreating there so that he can set up later for a complete smack. It looks like that Dayte3 is pushing out the pawns, and the knight is about to retreat as well, because griml0ck does not want to trade their knight for a pawn. It looks like that Dayte3 is now thinking about the next move, trying to consider where to go, and is considering what to do. The bishop out there from griml0ck, and the pawn gets pushed out forward, and the rook looks like it's about to set up for defenses for the king. It looks like the bishop is now in play, and the bishop gets taken, and then the knight takes the bishop, and the pawn gets pushed back in from griml0ck. Again, pushing that pressure onto Dayte3. Dayte3 is so under pressure right now. It looks like the pawn is getting pushed, and the queen takes the knight out. It looks like the queen has free reign in this area. Nothing can take this queen out from griml0ck. griml0ck is in a secure position right now, and he can take anything down. Looks like the bishop is about to move, take the pawn, and the bishop takes the bishop. Looks like griml0ck is still ahead on quite a few pieces. Looks like Dayte3's king is about to try and retreat to that rook, but it looks like the rook is just out of distance, and there no longer can be castled, so it looks like that Dayte3 is actually about to try and figure out what to do about this queen. Looks like the queen is still there, and griml0ck is still alleviating that pressure onto Dayte. It looks like Dayte is about to move the rook back, and the queen moves back tactically so they don't get taken out. The rook moves, and the queen takes the pawn, giving herself much higher check. Looks like there's another check out in play. Looks like the king's going to have to move in between his own pawns, and it looks like Dayte is still finding it hard to keep the pressure up while griml0ck retreats the queen tactically. Looks like the rook is about to actually go back into play here. Looks like he's going to try and take out that. And the queen takes the pawn, putting the king in check. The pawn takes the pawn, takes the pawn, and then it looks like the queen takes the rook out. It looks like the king is in danger right now. The queen moving in to secure that kill. It looks like the pawn is moving, and the bishop takes down the pawn. The pawn is still moving up. The knight's in play now. Looks like the knight's about to take down this pawn, and the king is in a bad situation. Dayte is not going to survive this. Dayte cannot move onto that pawn, otherwise there will be a check. And it looks like the queen and bishop are moving, and it looks like there's only one place for the king to go, and it looks like that's it. It looks like he's just taken out the pawn, and there's only one more space to go. The queen is actually on the hot tail of the king. Looks like griml0ck is actually taking this pressure to a whole new level. Dayte is not really tuned to this. It looks like Dayte is struggling, and the queen takes out the pawn, and the queen moves back into position. It looks like the rook has taken up to check, and it looks like the queen going to move in with the queen. The king is, and the rook comes in using check again. Looks like that king is only going to be able to move to the side of the board. Looks like the king is going to have to move. The bishop coming in with the check. It looks like the rook comes in. Now the king cannot move anywhere, but it looks like the pawn is able to move. Dayte reconsidering, but he's trying to get that king out of trouble. It looks like he's going to actually have to push that pawn up. It looks like the king moves, and the pawn and the rook is on check. It looks like the king is moving in. It looks like the king is just moving backwards and forwards. I think that's it. The king just moving backwards and forwards. Dayte cannot go anywhere at all except to take out that pawn. Looks like he takes the pawn, and the rook moves in. It looks like the king has to move back, and the bishop moves in. It looks like the queen is about to set up. Looks like the king cannot go anywhere at all, and Dayte is in a lot of trouble. The pawn moves in, and that's checkmate, everyone. griml0ck is the winner of this game as the championship. Dayte fighting long and hard for this first time. He gets into the finale and gets crushed by a 9-time winner. Everyone, give it up for griml0ck! And now we head over to our post-match commentary.
griml0ck, he did these moves that he needed to do 3 moves ahead. Something not picking up on the situation that he should have been doing. He should have been picking up on what griml0ck do. But no, Dante every time 3 moves behind, you could see it on his face as he was playing. One of the most stunning games I have seen in the history of the CSL. Thank you so much. I want to thank the world for bringing this beautiful thing into my life. Thank you.